I spent 3 years in the friend zone. I confessed my feelings twice. She rejected me both times but kept me around as her emotional support, her backup plan, her safety net. Then I met someone else. I was sitting on my couch on a lazy Sunday afternoon, my new girlfriend's head resting on my shoulder, half watching some movie either of us was really paying attention to. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen and saw a name I hadn't seen in months. A name that used to make my heart race, my stomach flip, my brain go into overdrive trying to figure out the right thing to say. Now I just stared at it like it was a message from a stranger. It was Amanda. My former best friend. The woman I'd spent 3 years of my life chasing, hoping, waiting for. The woman who'd told me, in no uncertain terms, that she didn't see me that way, and valued our friendship too much to risk it. The woman who'd friend-zoned me so thoroughly I should have had a permanent spot in the penalty box. The message said, "So you're really dating someone now? After everything we've been through?" I read it twice. Then I showed it to my girlfriend. She read it, raised an eyebrow and said, "Is that the girl who kept you on a leash for 3 years? That's her. What are you going to say?" I thought about it for maybe half a second. Then I typed back, "Yeah. She's great. Hope you're doing well." I hit send. I put my phone down. I went back to the movie. 20 minutes later, I picked up my phone again to check the time. There was a new message from Amanda. But when I tried to open it, all I saw was a blank screen and the words that make you do a double take. "This user cannot be reached." She'd blocked me. I stared at that screen for a long time. Not because I was sad. Not because I missed her. But because I couldn't wrap my head around the sheer audacity of it. She'd spent years telling me we were just friends. She'd rejected me multiple times, in ways both gentle and blunt. She'd made it clear that a romantic relationship was never going to happen. And the moment I finally moved on, finally found someone who actually wanted to be with me, she got mad. Mad enough to block me. By the end of this video, you're going to hear the full story of how I spent 3 years in the friend zone, what it did to my self-esteem, why I stayed so long, and what finally made me wake up. You're also going to learn why some people react the way Amanda did, why they keep you around as an option, then lose their minds when you stop being available. And hopefully, if you're in a situation like this right now, you'll see yourself in this story and realize that you deserve more than being someone's backup plan. Let me take you back to the beginning. My name is Ryan, I'm 28 years old now, but this story starts when I was 23. Fresh out of college, new job, new city, didn't know a soul. I was working as a graphic designer at a marketing firm, making barely enough to cover rent, but I was excited. It was my first real job, my first real apartment, my first real chance to be an adult. I met Amanda at a coworker's birthday party. She was a friend of a friend, one of those people who seems to know everyone in the room. She had this energy about her, this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the conversation. She laughed at my jokes, asked me questions about my life, listened like she actually cared. By the end of the night, I was smitten. We exchanged numbers. Started texting. Hanging out. Grabbing coffee, going to movies, exploring the city together. It was easy. Natural. The kind of friendship that feels like it was always meant to happen. Within a month, I knew I had feelings for her. Real feelings. The kind that keep you up at night, replaying conversations, analyzing every word she said for hidden meaning. Did she hold my hand a little too long when we crossed the street? Did she say we instead of I when talking about weekend plans? Did she lean in just a little closer when I showed her something on my phone? I was doing the thing. You know the thing. The thing where you take every tiny interaction and blow it up into a sign that maybe, just maybe, she feels the same way. The thing where you convince yourself that the friend zone is just a waiting room, and eventually your number will be called. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work that way. I waited 4 months to tell her how I felt. 4 months of building up the courage, rehearsing what I'd say, imagining how she'd respond. In my head, there were 2 versions. Version 1, she'd smile, say she'd been waiting for me to say something, and we'd live happily ever after. Version 2, she'd let me down easy, but our friendship would survive, and eventually she'd see what she was missing. What actually happened was somewhere in between, but closer to version 2. We were at a park near her apartment, sitting on a bench, watching the sunset. It was one of those perfect evenings where everything seems possible. I took a deep breath and let it out. "Amanda, there's something I need to tell you." She turned to look at me, a curious smile on her face. "I really like you. Like more than a friend. I've been feeling this way for a while, and I needed to tell you." Her smile faded. Not into a frown, but into something softer. Something careful. "Ryan," she said, "I really care about you. You're one of my favorite people. But I don't see you that way. I value our friendship too much to risk it on something that might not work out." I nodded. Tried to smile. "I get it. I had to say something." "I'm glad you did," she said. "And I hope this doesn't make things weird between us. I really don't want to lose you as a friend." "You won't," I said. "We're good." We sat on that bench for another hour, talking about other things, pretending the conversation hadn't happened. I walked her home. We hugged. She said she'd text me tomorrow. She did text me the next day. And the day after. And the day after that. Things went back to normal. Or at least, they looked normal on the surface. But inside I was different. I was waiting. Hoping. Thinking that if I just stuck around long enough, showed her what a great guy I was, proved that I was worth taking a chance on, she'd eventually change her mind. It's amazing what we tell ourselves when we don't want to accept reality. The next 2 years were a master class in self-deception. I told myself I was okay with being friends. I told myself I'd moved on. I told myself that the reason I still got butterflies every time she texted was just because she was a great friend, not because I was still hopelessly in love with her. But I was so deep in it I couldn't see the surface anymore. We did everything together. Late-night diner runs. Road trips to nowhere. Movie marathons where we'd argue for 20 minutes about what to watch, and then fall asleep on the couch. She'd call me when she was upset, and I'd drop everything to listen. She'd text me at 2 a.m. when she couldn't sleep, and I'd stay up with her until she finally drifted off. She told me I was her person. Her rock. The one she could always count on. And I ate it up. Every crumb. Every. "You're so important to me." Every. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Because in my mind, these were steps towards something more. She just needed time. She just needed to see how good we were together. She just needed to get over whatever was holding her back. There's a term for this in psychology. It's called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. You don't know when the reward is coming, but you know it might come, so you keep pulling the lever. You keep investing. You keep hoping. Amanda wasn't doing it on purpose, at least not consciously. But she was giving me just enough to keep me hooked. A compliment here. A moment of vulnerability there. A gesture that felt just a little too intimate for just friends. And I was so starved for anything that I took every scrap of attention and turned it into proof that she was coming around. The truth is, if she'd actually wanted to be with me, she would have been with me. People don't need 2 years to decide if they want to date someone. They know. And if they don't know, that's the answer. But I didn't want to hear that. So I kept waiting. About 1.5 years into our friendship, something happened that made me think maybe, finally, things were changing. Amanda had been dating this guy named Chris for a few months. I hated him, of course. Not because he was a bad guy. He seemed fine, actually. But because he got to be with her in ways I never could. He got the dates. The romance. The title. One night she called me crying. Chris had broken up with her. Out of the blue, she said. Just decided it wasn't working. I did what I always did. I went over. I brought ice cream and tissues. I let her cry on my shoulder. I told her she deserved better, that he was an idiot, that she'd find someone who appreciated her. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I had this thought. A thought I should have squashed immediately, but I let it grow. Maybe now she'll see me. Maybe now she'll realize what's been in front of her the whole time. So I waited. A week. 2 weeks. A month. I was there for her through the sadness, the anger, the loneliness. I was patient. I was supportive. I was everything she needed. And when it seemed like she was finally in a good place, I tried again. Amanda, I said one night, after dinner at our favorite Thai place. I know I said this before, and I know you said no. But I need to say it again. I still have feelings for you. I've never stopped. And I know you just got out of something, and I'm not trying to rush you, but I need to know if there's any chance you might ever feel the same way. She looked at me with an expression I'd come to know well. The careful one. The one that meant she was about to let me down gently. Ryan, she said. I love you. You know I do. But I love you as my friend. You're the most important person in my life, and I don't want to lose that. Can we please just keep what we have? It's so special to me. I nodded. Smiled. Said the words I'd said before. Of course. I just had to check. We're good. We were not good. I was not good. I was a mess. But I stayed. Because what else was I going to do? Walk away from the most important person in my life? Give up on the one thing that made me feel like I mattered? That's the trap of the friend zone. It's not just about being in love with someone who doesn't love you back. It's about being so convinced that this person is the only source of meaning and happiness in your life that you can't imagine leaving. You'd rather have a fraction of them than nothing at all. Over the 3 years of our friendship, Amanda dated a handful of guys. None of them lasted. There was Chris, the one who broke her heart. Then there was Matt, the artist who was too flaky. Then there was Derek, the one who seemed perfect until he moved across the country. Then there was Justin, the one who was too much, too fast. Each time, I was there. The witness. The support system. The guy she called when things fell apart. And each time, I told myself the same story. She's not ready yet. She's dating the wrong guys. Eventually she'll see that what she needs has been here the whole time. It never occurred to me that I was the wrong guy too. Just in a different way. The thing that should have woken me up came about 2 years in. Amanda and I were out with some of her friends, and one of them, a woman named Sarah who'd always been nice to me, pulled me aside. Ryan, she said, her voice low. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why do you keep doing this to yourself? I pretended not to know what she meant. Doing what? She gave me a look that said she wasn't buying it. You're in love with her. Everyone can see it. She can see it. And she's never going to feel the same way. So why do you keep hanging around, waiting for something that's never going to happen? I felt my face get hot. She's my friend. I'm not just hanging around waiting for anything. Sarah shook her head. Okay. But you're going to wake up one day and realize you wasted years of your life on someone who was never going to choose you. And she's going to be fine. She'll find someone, get married, have kids. And you'll be the guy who was always there, watching it happen, never living your own life. I was angry at her for saying it. But I was angrier because I knew she was right. I didn't listen though. Not then. I was too deep in. Too convinced that if I just held on a little longer, everything would change. The turning point came about 6 months after that conversation with Sarah. It was a random Tuesday, nothing special. Amanda and I were texting about our days, the usual back and forth that had become the rhythm of my life. She sent me a message about a guy she'd met at a work conference. He's so cute, she said. And smart. And funny. I think I really like him. I read those words and felt nothing. Not jealousy. Not hope. Not anger. Just tired. Deep, bone-tired exhaustion. The kind that comes from carrying something heavy for too long without ever putting it down. I looked at the messages we'd exchanged over the past 3 years. Thousands of them. Hours and hours of my life, poured into someone who saw me as a friend. A good friend. An important friend. But just a friend. And I realized something that should have been obvious from the start. I wasn't waiting for her to change her mind. I was waiting for me to change mine. I was waiting for the day when I'd finally stop loving her, when the switch would flip and I'd be free. But that day wasn't coming. Not while I was still in the middle of it, still getting the dopamine hits from her texts, still basking in the warmth of her attention. I needed to leave. Not because I was angry. Not because she'd done anything wrong. But because I couldn't heal in the same place that was making me sick. I didn't make a big announcement. I didn't send a dramatic goodbye text. I just started pulling back. I stopped initiating conversations. When she texted, I'd reply, but not right away. An hour later. Then 2. Then half a day. I stopped saying yes to every invitation. "Sorry, I'm busy," became my most used phrase. At first, she didn't seem to notice. Or if she did, she didn't say anything. We'd gone from talking every day to talking a few times a week to talking maybe once a week. The silence was strange at first. Uncomfortable. But then it started to feel peaceful. I had time for things I'd neglected. I started going to the gym. I picked up a photography class I'd been meaning to take. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with. I started living my life, not just orbiting around hers. And slowly, the fog started to lift. I'd spent so many years with Amanda as the center of my universe that I'd forgotten what it felt like to be my own center. To make decisions based on what I wanted, not on what would make her happy or impress her or keep me in her orbit. About 2 months into this new routine, Amanda finally noticed. "Hey," she texted. "Haven't heard from you in a while. Everything okay?" "Yeah, all good. Just been busy." "Too busy for me?" I didn't answer that. Because the truth was, yes. I was too busy for her. Too busy living my own life to go back to being her emotional support animal. She texted again a few days later. "Ryan, is something going on? You've been really distant." I thought about explaining. About telling her that I'd spent 3 years in love with her, that I'd finally realized I needed to move on, that I couldn't be her friend the way she wanted me to be. But what was the point? She already knew how I felt. I'd told her twice. And she'd made her position clear. So instead I said, "I'm just figuring some stuff out. Nothing personal." She didn't reply to that. And I didn't text again. About 4 months after I started pulling back, I met someone. Her name was Emily. She was in my photography class, this brilliant, funny woman with a laugh that made everyone in the room smile. We started as study buddies, then friends, then something more. The difference with Emily was night and day. When I texted her, she texted back. When I made plans, she showed up. When I told her I liked her, she said she liked me too. No games. No waiting. No decoding hidden meanings. I didn't realize how starved I'd been for reciprocity until I finally had it. It was like eating plain rice for 3 years and then tasting a real meal. I'd forgotten that relationships were supposed to feel good. That you weren't supposed to have to beg for someone's attention. That when someone actually wants to be with you, they make it easy. Emily and I took things slow. Not because I was being careful, but because it felt natural. We went on dates. We talked about our lives. We introduced each other to our friends. It was normal. Healthy. The kind of relationship I'd been trying to have with Amanda for years, but with someone who actually wanted it too. About 3 months in, I posted a picture of us on Instagram. Nothing dramatic, just a photo from a hike we'd done, the two of us smiling at the camera, sun setting behind us. I didn't think anything of it. But Amanda was watching. 2 days after that post, I got the message I mentioned at the beginning. "So you're really dating someone now? After everything we've been through?" I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I was confused about what to say, but because I was trying to process the audacity of it. After everything we'd been through? What exactly had we been through? Me waiting. Her rejecting. Me hoping. Her dating other guys. Me supporting. Her taking. That's what everything we've been through looked like from my side. From hers, it looked like having a loyal, devoted best friend who was always there when she needed him, who made her feel wanted and important, who dropped everything to make her feel better. And now that friend was gone, replaced by someone who was actually getting the romantic attention she'd never wanted but also didn't want anyone else to have. There's a word for that. It's called backup plan syndrome. You don't want to date the person, but you don't want them to date anyone else either. You want them to stay right where they are, available to you, giving you all the benefits of a relationship without any of the commitment. And when they finally move on, you feel betrayed. Even though you were the one who said no. I thought about all the ways I could respond. The angry version. After everything we've been through? You mean me waiting for you while you dated other guys? You mean me putting my life on hold while you figured out what you wanted? You mean me being your emotional crutch while you gave me nothing in return? The sad version. I had to move on. I couldn't wait forever. The desperate version. I still think about you. I still have feelings. I just couldn't stay stuck. In the end, I went with something simple. Something that said everything without saying too much. Yeah. She's great. Hope you're doing well. That was it. No anger. No explanation. No opening for a conversation. Just, I'm happy. I'm moving on. I hope you're okay too. She didn't respond. And when I checked later, I was blocked. Let's talk about the block for a second, because this is where the psychology gets really interesting. Why did Amanda block me? Not because she was angry. Not because she was hurt. Not because she suddenly realized she was in love with me and couldn't handle seeing me with someone else. She blocked me because she lost control. For 3 years, Amanda had a certain kind of power over me. Not power she'd asked for, necessarily, but power she'd accepted. I was her person. Her rock. The one she could always count on. She knew, on some level, that if she called, I'd come. If she needed me, I'd be there. If she wanted attention, I'd give it. That's a comfortable position to be in. To have someone who's always there, always available, always ready to make you feel wanted. It's validating. It's safe. It's a security blanket that doesn't require any real commitment. When I started pulling back, she lost that security. And when I showed up on Instagram with a new girlfriend, the security blanket was gone for good. The guy who'd been waiting for her for 3 years was now someone else's boyfriend. And she couldn't handle that. Not because she wanted me, but because she wanted to be wanted. And now she wasn't. Blocking me was her way of taking back control. If she couldn't have me on her terms, she'd remove me entirely. It was a power move disguised as a tantrum. A way of saying, you can't leave me because I'm leaving you first. Except I'd already left. I'd left months before. The block was just her finally catching up. Since this story seems to resonate with so many people, I want to take a minute to talk about the psychology behind what happened. Because understanding why people do what they do can help you avoid getting stuck in the same situation. The friend zone trap. The friend zone isn't a place someone puts you. It's a place you stay. When someone says they only see you as a friend, that's information. It's not a challenge. It's not a test. It's not a not yet. It's an answer. The problem is, we often don't want to hear the answer. So we ignore it. We tell ourselves that if we just stick around long enough, be good enough, prove ourselves enough, they'll change their mind. But that's not how attraction works. Attraction isn't a reward for good behavior. It's not something you earn by accumulating enough friendship points. The backup plan syndrome. There's a concept in psychology called mate value. It's the idea that we all have a certain perceived value in the dating market. When someone keeps you around as a friend while dating other people, there's often an unspoken dynamic at play. You're the safety net. The fallback. The one they know will be there if nothing better comes along. But here's the thing, if you're always available, you're never valuable. Scarcity creates value. When you're always there, always saying yes, always prioritizing them over yourself, you're telling them that your time and attention aren't worth anything. And they'll treat it accordingly. Intermittent reinforcement. This is the slot machine effect I mentioned earlier. When you don't know when the reward is coming, you keep pulling the lever. In a friendship like mine with Amanda, the rewards were small but powerful. A compliment. A moment of vulnerability. A gesture that felt intimate. These moments weren't consistent, but they were just frequent enough to keep me hooked. The antidote to intermittent reinforcement is consistency. Not in what they give you, but in what you expect. If someone isn't giving you what you need consistently, you walk away. Not to manipulate them into giving more, but because you deserve more. The reaction to moving on. When someone who's been orbiting you for years finally moves on, the reaction is almost always negative. Not because they suddenly realize they love you, but because they've lost something that made them feel good about themselves. Your attention. Your validation. Your presence. They might say things like, "I thought we were friends," or, "I can't believe you'd throw away what we had." But what they really mean is, "I can't believe you're not available to me anymore." This isn't love. It's entitlement. And you don't owe them anything. I did some research after everything went down, because I wanted to understand if my experience was normal. Turns out, it's more common than you might think. The numbers. About 98% of people report experiencing unrequited love at some point in their lives. Men are more likely to be the ones experiencing unrequited love than women, with studies showing about 75% of unrequited love cases involve men loving women who don't love them back. The average duration of unrequited love is about 2 to 3 years. People in unrequited love situations spend an average of 5 to 8 hours per day thinking about the person they love. Only about 10 to 15% of unrequited love situations eventually turn into reciprocated relationships. Of those that do turn into relationships, the success rate is significantly lower than relationships that started with mutual attraction from the beginning. Why people stay? Hope, the belief that things will eventually change. Sunk cost fallacy, the feeling that you've already invested so much time and energy that you can't walk away. Low self-esteem, believing you don't deserve better or won't find someone else. Fear of loneliness, the fear of being alone outweighs the pain of being in a one-sided situation. The intensity, unrequited love can feel more intense than reciprocated love because it's wrapped up in longing and fantasy. The cost. Mental health, unrequited love is associated with higher rates of depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. Time, years that could be spent building healthy relationships are spent waiting for something that never comes. Opportunity, other potential partners are ignored while you focus on someone who doesn't want you. Identity, you can lose yourself in the process, defining your worth by whether this person eventually chooses you. I wish I'd known these numbers when I was in the middle of it. Maybe I would have realized sooner that the odds were never in my favor. That waiting wasn't patience, it was self-harm. After Amanda blocked me, I had a lot of time to think. About her, about me, about the 3 years I'd spent chasing someone who didn't want to be caught. And here's what I realized. I wasn't in love with Amanda. Not really. I was in love with the idea of her. The idea of finally being chosen. The idea of all that waiting paying off. The idea of proving to myself and everyone else that I was good enough, worthy enough, lovable enough. Amanda was a mirror for my own insecurities. When she rejected me, it confirmed what I already believed about myself, that I wasn't enough. And every day I stayed, I was reinforcing that belief. I was telling myself that this was the best I could do. That this was all I deserved. The real work after everything ended wasn't getting over Amanda. It was getting over the version of myself that thought I had to beg for love. I started therapy. I know that sounds like a cliché, but it helped. I learned about attachment styles, about why I was drawn to people who were unavailable, about the patterns I'd been repeating since childhood. I learned that the way my parents had shown love, conditional, inconsistent, requiring me to perform to earn it, had set me up to seek out the same dynamics in my adult relationships. I also learned that you can't love someone into loving you back. That's not how love works. Love is a choice two people make, not a prize you win by being good enough. One of the things that helped me process everything was comparing my relationship with Amanda to my relationship with Emily. Because the difference was so stark that it became impossible to pretend the first one was healthy. With Amanda, I was always the one reaching out. I was always the one asking to hang out. I was always the one waiting for her to text back. I analyzed every interaction for hidden meaning. I felt anxious when she was distant. I felt elated when she gave me attention. I was constantly asking myself, what does this mean? I was exhausted. With Emily, she reaches out as much as I do. She makes plans and keeps them. She texts back because she wants to talk to me. I never wonder what she's thinking, she tells me. When she's busy, I know she's busy and it's fine. When we're together, it's easy, not stressful. I never ask myself what anything means, it means what she says it means. I feel peaceful. The difference is simple. Amanda made me work for her attention. Emily gives it freely. Amanda made me feel like I had to earn her. Emily makes me feel like I'm already enough. That's what healthy love feels like. It's not a chase. It's not a puzzle to solve. It's not something you have to beg for or prove you deserve. It's two people showing up for each other because they want to, because it's easy, because being together is better than being apart. If you're in a situation where love feels like work, like a test, like a constant struggle to be good enough, that's not love. That's a transaction. And you deserve more. I want to be really clear about something. Amanda wasn't a bad person. She didn't set out to hurt me. She didn't intentionally string me along. She was a flawed person, like all of us, who got comfortable with a dynamic that benefited her and didn't think too hard about what it was costing me. But that doesn't mean what happened was okay. And it doesn't mean I didn't have a role in it. Here's the hard truth I had to accept. I was complicit in my own friend zoning. I stayed. I didn't set boundaries. I didn't walk away when I should have. I kept showing up, kept being available, kept hoping. I taught Amanda that she could have all the benefits of my attention without any of the commitment. And she took what I offered. The responsibility for my happiness was mine. And I gave it away. If you're in a situation like this, here's what I wish someone had told me. Don't wait for someone to choose you. If they wanted to be with you, they would be. There's no magic combination of words or actions that will make someone suddenly see you differently. Attraction isn't a debate you can win with good arguments. You can't be friends with someone you're in love with. Not really. Not in a healthy way. Every interaction is loaded. Every kindness is a hope. Every moment together is a reminder of what you want and can have. It's not friendship. It's torture. Your time is valuable. The years you spend waiting for someone who doesn't want you are years you could be spending building something real with someone who does. You can't get that time back. Silence is an answer. When someone says, I'm not ready, or I'm confused, or maybe someday, what they mean is, not right now. And not right now usually means, not ever. You don't owe them your friendship. Just because someone wants to be friends doesn't mean you have to accept. If being friends is hurting you, you're allowed to walk away. You don't need their permission to protect yourself. It's been about a year since Amanda blocked me. I'm still with Emily. We're talking about moving in together. It's the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. Amanda and I haven't spoken. She unblocked me a few months ago. I noticed because her name popped up in my suggested friends, but neither of us has reached out. I'm not angry at her anymore. I'm not sad. I'm just indifferent. She's a person I used to know, used to care about, used to build my world around. Now she's a memory that doesn't hurt anymore. I heard through mutual friends that she's dating someone now. Someone serious, apparently. I hope she's happy. I hope she's found what she was looking for. I hope she's learned something from what happened between us, the way I have. But I don't need to know. I don't need to check in. I don't need to see if she's okay or if she misses me or if she ever thinks about what could have been. That chapter is closed. And I'm finally okay with that. If you're watching this and you're currently in the friend zone, waiting for someone who doesn't see you the way you see them, here's what I tell you. It's not going to happen. I know that hurts to hear. I know you have 100 reasons why your situation is different, why they're just not ready yet, why they'll come around eventually. But they won't. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can start healing. You're not in love with them. You're in love with the idea of them. The version you've built in your head, where they finally see you and everything is perfect. That person doesn't exist. The real person has already told you who they are. Believe them. Walking away is not giving up. It's choosing yourself. You've been choosing them for years. Choosing their happiness over yours. Their comfort over your sanity. Their friendship over your peace. It's time to choose yourself. There's someone out there who will want you without you having to convince them. I didn't believe this when I was in the middle of it. I thought Amanda was the only person who could make me happy. I was wrong. There are billions of people in the world. Some of them will like you back. Let them. The pain of leaving is temporary. The pain of staying is permanent. If you leave, it will hurt. For a while. Then it will hurt less. Then it will stop hurting entirely. If you stay, you'll be hurting for as long as you stay. And you might stay for years. I did. Don't be me. There's actual science behind why moving on from unrequited love is so hard, and also why it gets better. I found this helpful, so I'm sharing it here. Why it hurts. When you're in love with someone, your brain releases dopamine and oxytocin, the same chemicals involved in addiction. Being around the person you love, or even just thinking about them, activates the brain's reward centers. It feels good. And when you're not around them, you go into withdrawal. This is why unrequited love feels like an addiction. Because it literally is. Your brain is hooked on the chemical hit you get from their attention, even if it's just crumbs. Why no contact works. When you go no contact with someone you're addicted to, your brain goes through withdrawal. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. You'll want to reach out, to get another hit, to make the pain stop. But if you can push through that initial period, usually 30 to 90 days, your brain starts to recalibrate. The dopamine receptors settle down. The person starts to feel less important. The fog lifts. This is why I had to pull back from Amanda. Not to punish her, but to break the chemical cycle. And it worked. Why you need to fill the void. One of the mistakes people make when moving on is trying to do it in a vacuum. They stop talking to the person, but they don't replace that time and energy with anything else. So they sit around, thinking about the person, and the withdrawal is unbearable. You need to fill that space. New hobbies. New friends. New routines. New goals. Not to distract yourself, but to build a life that doesn't revolve around this person. A life that's full enough that you don't have room for them anymore. Why time actually heals. There's a reason people say time heals all wounds. It's not just a platitude. Over time, the neural pathways that connect this person to feelings of reward and pleasure weaken. New pathways form. The person who used to be the center of your world becomes smaller, less significant, less important. It takes time. It takes intentionality. But it happens. It happened for me. And it will happen for you. Looking back, there were so many red flags I ignored. I want to list them here, in case you're in a situation like this, and need to see what the warning signs look like. She kept me around but never committed. She wanted all the benefits of a relationship, the emotional support, the attention, the loyalty, without any of the commitment. I was her boyfriend in everything but name, and she got to keep looking for someone better, while I waited. She got jealous when I talked to other women. There were a few times over the years when I mentioned someone I was interested in. Amanda's reaction was always negative. Not overtly, she'd never say, "Don't date her." But she'd get cold, distant, or suddenly need my attention more. She didn't want me, but she didn't want anyone else to have me either. She used me as her emotional support animal. When she was sad, I was there. When she was lonely, I was there. When she needed validation, I gave it. But when I needed support? When I was struggling? She was often too busy, too distracted, or just not interested. The relationship was one way. She never introduced me as anything more than a friend. To her family, to her friends, to the guys she dated, I was always my friend Ryan. Not the guy who's always there for me. Not someone really important to me. Just a friend. A footnote. She talked about other guys with me. She told me about her crushes, her dates, her heartbreaks. She treated me like a girlfriend, not a potential partner. And I listened. Every time. Because I thought if I was a good enough listener, a good enough friend, a good enough everything, she'd eventually see me differently. If you're seeing any of these in your situation, please hear me. It's not going to change. You're not going to be the exception. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you can start building something real. There's one conversation I never had with Amanda that I sometimes wish I'd had. Not because it would have changed anything, but because I think it would have helped me close the door for good. I wish I'd said, Amanda, I have feelings for you. I've had them for a long time. I know you don't feel the same way, and I've accepted that. But I can't be your friend anymore. Not because I'm angry, but because being around you hurts. I need to take care of myself. I hope you understand. I didn't say that. I just faded away. And maybe that was the right choice for me. I didn't owe her an explanation, and any conversation would have just been another chance for her to pull me back in. But part of me wishes I'd been brave enough to say the words. To name what was happening. To close the door cleanly instead of letting it drift shut. If you're in a situation like this, you might want to have that conversation. Or you might not. There's no right answer. But if you do have it, say it for you, not for them. Say it because you need to say it, not because you think it will change anything. And be prepared for them to not understand, to get defensive, to try to convince you to stay. Stand your ground. You're not asking permission. You're telling them what you're doing. I'm writing this from the couch in my apartment. Emily's in the kitchen, making dinner. We're laughing about something stupid that happened at work today. The apartment smells like garlic and onions and whatever song she's humming while she cooks. It's simple. It's ordinary. It's everything. A year ago, I couldn't have imagined this. A year ago, I was still tangled up in Amanda, still hoping, still waiting, still giving her pieces of myself that I should have kept. I thought she was the only person who could make me happy. I thought if she didn't want me, no one would. I was wrong. So wrong. The truth is, there were always people who could have loved me the way I wanted to be loved. I just couldn't see them because my eyes were fixed on someone who wasn't looking back. The moment I turned away, the moment I stopped waiting and started living, the world opened up. New people. New possibilities. New chances to be happy. Amanda blocking me was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not because she meant it that way, but because it forced me to let go of something I should have let go of years before. Sometimes the universe does you a favor by taking away something you were too scared to leave on your own. So, what's the moral of this story? A few things. You can't wait someone into loving you. If they don't see you that way, no amount of time, patience, or good behavior will change that. Attraction isn't a reward for loyalty. It's either there or it isn't. Being the backup plan isn't being valued. If someone keeps you around while they date other people, you're not their person. You're their safety net. And safety nets don't get chosen, they get used. Your feelings matter too. It's not selfish to walk away from something that's hurting you. It's not cruel to choose yourself. You're allowed to prioritize your own well-being. In fact, you have to. The person who wants you will make it easy. Love isn't supposed to be a puzzle you have to solve. It's not supposed to be a constant struggle for attention and validation. When someone actually wants to be with you, you'll know. You won't have to guess. Don't waste years on someone who wouldn't cross the street for you. I spent 3 years waiting for Amanda. 3 years I could have spent building something real with someone who actually wanted me. Don't be me. Amanda, I know you'll probably never see this. But if you do, I want you to know something. I'm not angry at you. I was for a while, but I'm not anymore. You were dealing with your own stuff, your own fears, your own patterns. You didn't set out to hurt me. You just didn't think about how your actions were affecting me. And that's not okay, but it's human. I hope you're happy. I hope you found someone who makes you feel the way I wanted to make you feel. I hope you've learned to be more aware of the people who love you, and to treat them with the care they deserve. And I hope you know that blocking me was the right choice. Not for you, for me. It gave me the clean break I needed to finally move on. I wouldn't have done it on my own. So in a weird way, thank you. You were a big part of my life for a long time. And even though it ended the way it did, I'm grateful for what I learned. I'm a better partner to Emily because of what I went through with you. I know what I want now. I know what I deserve. I know what to look for and what to run from. So thank you. For the friendship. For the lessons. For the push I needed to finally choose myself. I hope life is good to you. If you're watching this and you're in the situation I was in, waiting, hoping, giving everything to someone who gives you just enough to keep you hooked, I want you to hear this. You deserve better. You deserve someone who chooses you without hesitation. Someone who's excited to be with you, not just comfortable having you around. Someone who makes you feel safe and seen and wanted, not anxious and confused and hungry for scraps. You are not a consolation prize. You are not a backup plan. You are not a placeholder until someone better comes along. You are a whole person, worthy of love that is given freely, not earned through suffering. The hardest part is walking away. I know. It feels like giving up. It feels like losing something precious. It feels like you'll never find someone who makes you feel the way they do. But here's the secret. The way they make you feel isn't love. It's addiction. It's hope. It's the fantasy of what could be. And when you finally let it go, when you finally step away and let yourself heal, you'll see that what you were chasing was never real. It was a story you told yourself. And you can tell yourself a better story. I did. And you can too. Before I go, I want to say something to the people who might be on the other side of this equation. To the Amandas of the world. If you have someone in your life who's in love with you, and you don't feel the same way, please don't keep them around for the attention. Don't use them as your emotional support while you date other people. Don't act jealous when they try to move on. Don't keep them in the friend zone because it's comfortable for you. It's not kind. It's not friendship. It's using someone's feelings for your own benefit, and it's not fair to them. If you know someone loves you and you don't love them back, do them a favor. Let them go. Give them space to heal. Don't text them when you're lonely. Don't call them when you need validation. Don't send mixed signals that keep them hoping. Be clear. Be kind. But be firm. Because the kindest thing you can do for someone who loves you is to let them move on. If you like this story and want to hear more real-life relationship stories, click the video on screen right now. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves. And remember, you don't have to wait to be chosen. You can choose yourself first.